What school you look at, Travis? You at Calvert?
No, Travis.
Come in.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, October 29th, 10 a.m., and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Wagner.
I'm here.
Commissioner Stacy.
Here.
Commissioner Zola.
Here.
Okay, we will begin with our Eagle Scout Travis. If you would like to give us an update on the cemetery project.
I would love to.
Yay.
Hello, I'm Travis Gase of Troop 444 at St. Joe's. I'm here to give you a report of the Center County Home Cemetery Renovation Project. It is now complete. I'd like to give you a breakdown of what went into that project. Project finances included $2,700 in monetary donations, $5,600 in the recycling grant money, $6,500 in in-kind contributions, which includes equipment, materials, and services, all coming to a total of $14,800.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. We had 4 concrete pour days, as well as many other miscellaneous work days, all coming to 1,850 man-hours to complete the project. I personally had 145 planning hours. Total hours were 1,995. We had 76 volunteers that worked on this project, 12 adult leaders, 12 scouts, and 52 other volunteers. This project developed into a community-wide project, and I am honored to be a part of it. I have many key people that I'd like to thank for making this project a success, starting with the Seneca County Commission for allowing me to do this project and allowing the grant money, otherwise we probably wouldn't even been able to afford the concrete. Adult leaders from Troop 444, including Brad Moore, who designed the ladder form, the clamp form, allowed us to use a lot of his equipment, and provided guidance and support. All of my fellow scouts who made time to come out. Mark Irving from Irving Equipment for allowing us to use his concrete pumper. Tom Breinbaugh for bringing up this project. The Seneca County Sheriff's Community Corrections for providing manpower. Excuse me. Tim Willing from Willey's Monuments for giving us the idea for the ladder form, as well as fixing our broken stones with epoxy. Eric Bohr for making the sign. Steve Wozniak for giving us a backup concrete pumper when Mark Irving could not attend. Palmer Brothers for supplying the recycled concrete, as well as many other people that took part in this project that I cannot bring up.
Thank you.
Travis,
Thank you.
you are a very, very
Awesome.
fine young
Great
man.
pictures.
You're gonna do well in life.
Thank you.
Just keep the enthusiasm up. When you started this project, I kind of looked and I said, this young man doesn't know what he's getting into. I'm not sure you knew what you're getting, but you finished it. You, along with everyone that was part of the project. And the county is eternally grateful for what you've done.
Now, on Sunday, will you say, you'll have a few remarks? I think that's the plan, that you say a few remarks again? Are you
Yeah,
prepared to
basically
do
this,
that?
but a lot longer.
Okay. Okay.
Well, that's good.
Anything-
Pictures are great, and
Yeah.
I commend you, because as I've always preached to my kids over time, most kids don't give it 100%, and there's only so many that go to 110+%, and you certainly have done that, so to be commended. Great documentation here too, so that's cool.
Would like to, if we could get this mounted on some poster boards where we can have them posted.
The
up.
pictures.
Yeah, the pictures between now and Sunday, or were you planning on
As I say,
doing
maybe
that?
he's
or-
got plans for
We'll be
those.
glad to take care of that. You'll take care of that?
We'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Just for everyone's education, the process will start at 2 o'clock at the county cemetery, which is located kind of behind the sheriff's department. Drive down, all the way down the lane, we'll have a sign that will be out on, what is that, 100 there? A sign with an arrow pointing all the way back. We're fortunate, we're gonna have the Calvert Band that will be there and play a few songs or so forth, or so on. We'll have a proclamation, and then I'll say a few words, if that's all right with the commissioners, thanking individuals that were part of this process, and then Travis, you may want to get up and just say a few words if you don't mind, or.
You'll be glad
You
to.
do a great job, but I mean, that we are very, very grateful that you've taken this project on. I believe the county is a better place because of people like you and there's so many volunteers that are there.
Don't give me that much credit.
Okay. Did you get your Eagle Scout?
The actual board for it is November 20th.
Okay.
So
The
I'm
Court
going.
of Honor is the number 20? Okay, good, good.
Well on his way.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna get it whether they like it.
Thank you very much. for
Thank
your-
you.
Good job.
Thank you.
You folks are welcome to stay, or you can go as you see fit, so.
Make sure he goes back to school.
Yeah.
We'll get this young man back to school.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's sign the journal, and do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 He needs pictures.
You need the pictures back, yes. I think it'll be opposed to the minutes? All right, motion passed. Any old business?
Old business, I have an update on the phone proposal, I just got it this morning. The cost is, let me pull out the old one just to make sure I'm saying it right. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still under the initial cost. $28,419.38 when the original with the discounts and the phones was 24. So it did go up a little bit, but we're still getting 17% discount. Through a different,
$4,000 in,
because they had a buy one get one free last time, and that company, that phone company promotion isn't on anymore. So he's trying to find other, but I wanted him to give me a price before board today, just to bring it back up.
can we stiff arm them a little bit? Say, well, if they can offer us a similar deal, we'll do it. If they don't, we'll go elsewhere.
This was the cheapest proposal, but I can always ask.
And the other thing we were gonna talk about was the other non-general fund departments. Is that what Julie was coming in for Thursday?
No, she was
No.
coming in for the software.
For the
Yeah,
software,
the
okay.
final,
If she-
the
if she's
final
ready
details
for
on the
that.
software.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right, I mean, with the non-general fund departments, can they contribute anything towards that $28,000?
The last time we brought that up, their thought was it's part of the building, the county needs to pay for that, not the departments.
So it'd go towards the
It'll end up,
Maximus.
I mean,
Maximus
they'll pay
said
for
they
the
could put it in
cost
there.
allocation. It will,
And that's why we didn't go forward the last time, is because nobody else ponied up.
and we do
And
our,
it was early enough in the year, we really didn't know if we wanted to commit dollars, but
and
the expenses kept, the
Yeah.
maintenance costs have continued, so that was a concern.
and the money's already in 215, because of our leases, we put lease money in there, so we wouldn't have to move any general fund money over. There is money available to do that project, so that wouldn't take any money off of our cert, if that makes a difference. But I'm more than happy.
I'm
to-
advocating we do, we gotta bite the bullet, it's, you know, we just continue to push that can down the road. I would just get real strong with negotiation with it and just say that this is what we have, I mean, kinda.
This is what we had
really put
before,
a-
get that price.
Yep, and if it, I just can't imagine in 4 months, was it 4 or 5 months, that the cost has went up that much that, you know, these phone companies, they wanna sell phones.
Yeah, this one was done in March,
Yeah.
compared to October.
I just can't buy that it went up that much that soon, and I mean, just
it's
tell
on
them,
hardware.
I mean,
Yeah.
can we do that? That we're ready to enter a contract if they match that offer, what they did then? We'll sign a contract today. I mean, can we do that, or do we have to make a resolution here now, or does that have to come back, or, you know, what kind of authority can we give?
I think if we give her verbal approval, she can do whatever we tell her to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll do appropriations after we
Yeah.
get, or
My
before
feeling
we get
is,
the contract in.
if, I would like to give you the authority, if you can get them to match that $24,000 figure, do it. My feeling.
I agree, but I don't know that we can afford to do it, but I don't want to take away our power.
Well, yeah, well,
The ability to get the best deal, but I guess we just challenge her to get the best deal on it. I-
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. Say, try and get the price they had before, draw an arm, make them call you back, you know, a
Yep.
day or two later, if you give us some grace in the newspaper not to play all our cards.
good point, I didn't think about that, yeah. Could this was a closed session here, right? Executive session.
You can see we won't go to Vegas with county's money, 'cause we're not good at this.
Sometimes
Showed
you
all
really
our
play
cards.
stiff arm with them and let them stew on it for a day or two. It may, I mean, $4,000, I mean, that's, 8% of the.
But it was the hardware deal. I mean, I see
Yeah,
what you're
and
saying,
I
but
understand that.
it's not that it's just a
Yeah,
big
but they
increase.
may
It
go
is-
back to the hardware company and,
Tell them the commissioners were really mad when you brought it up, that the price went up that much. And, you know, is it worth another stab at REA funds, or is that not even worth
I can ask
asking?
her.
Okay,
What's
maybe-
REA?
You could ask her Thursday when she's here.
That's Julie's money again. She's got a boatload of money in the REA fund that she uses that money for legitimate purposes, but this is also legitimate too. Maybe just an email, a kind email. If she says no, she says no.
Okay.
I guess if
Let me-
if they
let me-
would, if they wouldn't do the, quote, back to with the deal on the hardware, she'd be willing to make up that difference in that, in the increase from,
if you don't mind, I prefer to do things like that in person.
Okay.
Let me, maybe over a cup of coffee, I can convince Julie to pony up some money there.
Okay.
I'll give her some of Holly's cookies.
Okay, so you'll negotiate and you'll talk to Julie
Yeah,
about, see if you get a couple thousand or something. All
I'd like
right.
to see their notes.
Bribery gets you everything in this business, cookies and coffee.
Holly cookies, that's all it says.
That's what he said, like the cookies would.
See, it's gonna look like it's all my fault now. Thanks, Fred.
The only other one that we brought up last session was the tractor. If you have thoughts on for maintenance for the tractor.
Refresh my memory.
This one is the one he gave me the sheets. We put in, let's see, just in the last year, we've put in $3,700 to fix this thing. That's, last winter's downtime and last, the replacement tractor, which he found that will, all the extras, the street sweeper, the mower decks and the cab mounts, he kept to the same tractor. That way all of our hardware would fit onto this one.
Okay.
The contract price, state price, he got down to $14,573.20.
I thought we agreed to go ahead with that tractor, but maybe my memory's faulty there.
I don't
You didn't
remember
it
saying,
that
no.
way?
No.
Okay.
My feeling on capital expenditures like that, it needs to be budgeted in. And I'm fine for if they would have budgeted in for next year, but not to throw it in at the end of the year. That's just my
The
feeling.
problem with how we've always done budgets, and you can definitely change this, that the one-time expenses, we do not budget in because we do not budget our carryover. We only budget what is certified. So what was previous practice, which can change, but what previous practice was, is the one-time expenses, they come to us and say, this is what we're gonna need, we take it into consideration, but we've never had the ability to put those in the initial budget, because we can only budget but revenue's certified. So that means, okay, if we want to budget a $15,000 tractor, I've got to take it off somebody's salary line or somebody's, you know what I mean? And that's previous practice, and if you have any suggestions on how to do that differently,
So what I understand is the budget commission certifies that we got this amount of income, revenue, and then all the budgets come in and we do that, which doesn't have these, what I would consider CapEx
right?
type things. And then throughout the year, if we find out we're running over in our revenue or less on our expenses, that's where we squeeze those, that's where the past where they've squeezed these.
One-time expenses out of the carryover, I guess you could call it.
But then we weren't using the carryover for a courthouse fund either, so.
Right.
If you do it out of revenue, then you're going to have to, that's more of a true budget, but then you're gonna have to squeeze departments on their
Operating.
operating expenses.
Last year it was $3,700. What was it the year before, maintenance for the tractor?
I think he only pulled me last year's.
See, last
I
year
can
may,
get-
may have been just some extenuating.
It's ongoing with that tractor. They're literally piecing it together each winter. And this is half price as opposed to buying a brand new tractor and all the attachments. That would be over $30,000. So he has gone and tried to find a used machine to offset those costs. I mean, I've been here 7 years and every winter they're telling me how they're
But then you gotta get, then you have to get it there.
piecing and parting it together. It's to the point where we're gonna get a heavy snow and they're gonna be without a tractor.
Holly, you have any
I'm-
thoughts?
I had figured the cost of 15,000 in when I was looking at what we could do,
With the
possibly with
courthouse.
setting some money aside for the courthouse, if we could take care of these other things. And so I thought we were gonna move on it. That's kind of where I was at, in my thoughts, and when I said that last week, so.
In my mind, when we talked about it before, I was a go-ahead,
Okay.
but I might not have said that.
Okay. And we will get there.
Based on what you're telling me how it was done in the past, and I could see why they would do it that way, I'm fine with it. And if it's a reoccurring expense every year of $3,000-4,000, well, then it's kind of a no-brainer. You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
3 years, you've just paid for
A new,
a new
Yeah.
one, and you're better off to just buy it, bite the bullet, and be done with it.
And this one's not quite new, this is
Right.
used slightly.
it doesn't say what year it is.
Okay. Okay, well, have them go ahead with that.
Okay,
then.
we'll get the paperwork ready for Thursday, that way it's. And then the only other thing, I just wanted to update you, I sent out, the budget worksheets, and I only indicated that unless there's some changes in budget commission revenue, that, budgets would stay the same. What we would normally do is if there's some changes in revenue, schedule a meeting, or if any of the departments have changes they need made, they would come schedule an appointment with the board to ask for those changes. But I wanted to get the worksheets out, get them started on it, and that way we're not lagging behind. And I think the auditor, Mary Jane, called and said they were gonna get the revenue sheets out this week too, so
Okay. Good.
just let you know it was out. That's all I had.
Tanya, you have any old business? Mr. Zoll?
I just inform everyone, I mean, that the CSB building is done with the repairs and so forth, and I don't know if I officially said something last week. I think you made a statement afterwards, God, was it done, was it not, or whatever, but yeah, it's done and it looks to be in good repair and everything matches, and the bill has been submitted, and I don't know if it's been paid or not, but it will be paid, and I think everything's fine there.
He's probably already got the check.
Okay, so
Thank you.
I think that was a relatively inexpensive fix. The real determination, we'll see if it lasts a long time or not, and that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any old business?
Yes, I met with Chairman Knight from the Board of Elections yesterday at the Job and Family Services building. We were out there for the open enrollment meeting and did a walkthrough with Dean with us, and he agreed with what I had seen in it, and the fact of, you know, the better layout and more functionality with things. Do believe that they would only consider it if they also did the extra offices that are still in DJFS's lease, which they are not using, and they knew that eventually they would take out of their lease, but they just hadn't messed with that. For the machines, he, you know, was thinking through the possibilities of how they do their few evening things. The conference rooms are available there, as they are in CSB in the basement. And just, you know, the transparency of that with those machines in there. And he says, you know, we could have those blinds up, and whenever anything's being done to those machines, and you walk by, sees that. He goes, I feel like it's never secretive, but you always feel like it when you're in a basement in it. So there's lots of things he liked about it. His intentions now are to, they meet, apparently they're sort of in session, I guess, all day on election day.
Okay.
And he goes, once we're through, kind of past the hour, which usually by noon, if there's anything, problems that are gonna occur where they need to do things, they've been taken care of. He's hoping that maybe they'll be able to go out there, and they're gonna coordinate that with Dean, to let others see things, and then they'll come back to us with questions, comments, whatever. But
Okay, good.
Finally got there, so.
Thank you for your follow-up on all that. Appreciate it.
We have to foot all the expense for them to move and renovation. Does that fall on the county?
The outline that I'd given him and targeted things to, you know, that have to be considered, what they have there, what they would have there, was, you know, I put that question out there, what about, you know, in their general revenue, general account anyway, but, you know, the signage, obviously education that, of the general public, if they made a move, that possibly maybe they could use the corrections program for their physical move, but that would be at theirs, and that we would really only wanted to incur very minor additional maintenance cost of renovations. We did not want to do major renovations of any kind to the space, and so wanted to see what they thought of it as is, other than, you know, maybe a couple minor things, maybe one wall comes out or something. He really initially didn't think that was probably going to be a need. Some of the removable partitions that are in that lobby area, they probably wouldn't want those, but again, if we, no matter what we do with that space, that's likely to come out of there, you know.
Yeah, that's-
And there's a lot of things in there that's just what happens when you have open space. People put things there that need to go away, but then they will, because they don't belong to us, they belong to DJFS, so.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think we can get prisoners probably to move,
Yeah.
prisoners or Crossway or somebody to help us.
Yeah. So we'll just, see what they think.
Okay, great, great. That all the old you have?
That's all I have.
Okay, new business.
New business. I have a supplement to the permitted appropriations for the Juvenile Programs and Services Fund, 176, putting $1,000 into supplies. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations for the Allen Irie Fund, 043, putting $3,556.60 into salaries, $1,751.28 into hospitalization, $497.92 into PRS, for a total of $5,805.80. I have a supplement to the permit appropriation for the Health Insurance Fund 099, putting $64,000 into the health insurance premium lines. I have a supplement to the permit appropriations for the Flex Spending Fund 179 in the admin fees line $305. I have a supplement to the permit appropriation for the general fund for 2013, putting $287,308.31 into the transfers out. That is to be put into the Justice Center line. That was part of the 300,000. Tanya had done some cleaning up of our other accounts, 212, the courthouse fund, and I think an advance paid back from another fund, the ditch,
County Road 16.
County Road 16 fund, and we have some general fund money coming back. So that's why you don't see the full amount in that resolution. But the transfers out, we have a resolution authorizing the fund transfer be made to the capital projects fund for the 300,000 out of our transfers out, put into the transfers in of 215. I do have an appropriation adjustment within the ambulance service fund, 064. This is moving $13,372.95 from contract services to note services. We reduced a purchase order to make sure that we got the notes paid off. He still owes cost allocations, but at least getting this note paid off this year, he doesn't have to worry about interest, and he can just work on getting those cost allocations paid up.
He meaning the
EMS director.
EMS director.
Yes. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriation for the courthouse construction fund, 212, to close out the fund, putting $68,143.21 into the transfers out. The courthouse construction fund was the fund we used for the demolition of the courthouse. Everything has been done, has been paid for, and this money was left in that account. So we're closing it back up to move it back into the general fund. So we have an
Back in
additional.
the general fund.
Yep. And that's what the next resolution is authorizing the fund transfer be made to the general fund, taking out of the courthouse project fund, 212 transfers out line to the general fund transfers in for $68,143.21. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance repayment from the County Road 16 Petition Ditch Fund 107 to the general fund, moving $16,411.38 from the advances out, County Road 16, to the general fund advances in. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance repayment from the Energy Improvement Fund 225 to the general fund, moving $68,815 from the Energy Improvement Fund to the general fund. Initially, to get the contract for Palmer going, the general fund had to advance it because we wanted to wait until we actually did the work before we opened the note. So this is the advance we gave to the 225. I have a resolution establishing the Seneca County's premium contribution and health insurance rates for calendar year 2014. The last resolution we did was basically setting the increase. These are the actual figures. The base plan with the wellness, the buy-up plan, and with the wellness 25% discount, actually setting the rate. I have a resolution establishing the Seneca County's health insurance COBRA rates for calendar year 2014. Again, we have the rates for a base plan and a buy-up plan. See, I have a resolution rescinding the board's orders of September 16th, 2013, volume 98, page 447, authorizing the contract agreement with Corporate One Benefits Agency for the consulting and brokerage services pertaining to, but not limited to, medical, prescription drugs, and flexible spending. We have to rescind that. It was the wrong title that was grabbed when put on that resolution. The resolution was actually supposed to be for the HIPAA, the new laws that we had for HIPAA. Trying to use an old example pulled the wrong title. So it was just a clerical error on our part. So I have a resolution authorizing the contract agreement with Corporate One Benefits for the access to protection healthcare information, HIPAA, effective August 1st, 2013. And I have a resolution authorizing the health savings account employer contribution amounts for the Seneca County Government Health Insurance Program. This is what we had discussed at that that you guys had agreed to continue. And we're doing the paperwork. $250 for singles and $500 for the family. And that's all the resolutions I have.
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the resolutions as read.
I will second.
Okay, discussion on any of them?
And the item, the 300,000, just to clarify, that is the move of the money for the courthouse capital improvement line, the restricted line.
Yes, yep, we can actually move that to the Justice Center line, if that's how you want to see it. We can move it straight to the line. We don't use it, we can't use it for anything else, but if we appropriate it now, we're just gonna have to reduce it at the end of the year and reappropriate it next year, so the money's there.
Right.
we'll just, if it's okay, we'll just wait till the new budget and put that money in there, so it's set aside.
We
It's
wanna-
set aside now, we're not touching it.
We wanna put it in the same fund with the 400,000
Yes.
the previous year, whatever fund that was.
Yep.
That the only way we can get it is through a court order.
Right,
Is if in a catastrophic situation.
yep. If we don't have to appropriate it, we won't.
It saves a step later.
Yeah, however you wanna do it, as long as it keeps in that same pot with the 400,000.
Yep,
Is in that is really untouchable unless we get a court
Court
order.
order, yep.
In a catastrophic situation. then.
correct.
However you do it beyond that, I really don't care.
It's just paperwork on
Yeah.
our end, so.
Whatever makes it as easiest.
A small note on the County Road 16, that is year 4 of the 5 years that we gave the landowners to pay back an amount. So next year's transfer will be the end, and that'll be taken care of.
Okay. That was a petition ditch project as well for County Road, along County Road 16.
Okay.
Similar to Wolf Creek, only much, much smaller. I would say that I'm pleased that we are continuing setting aside money for a future courthouse fund. I think that's a significant contribution, and I'm pleased that we're continuing what past boards had started. Other discussions on these motions? Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Zoller?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Yes. Okay, other business. Holly?
I have nothing else.
Brett?
Tons of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Get ready. I was contacted by a resident of New Riggle a few weeks ago that is looking to buy a property over there. And the property adjoins his property. And right now, it has a cistern to feed water to it and has a restroom in there. He does not need that. He's contacted Mark Zimmerman, and Mark said that the final decision, what he wants to do is if he buys this property and disengages the water and takes out the bathroom facility in there, then would he have to continue to pay a sewer assessment? Mark Zimmerman made the statement that the final decision lies within the commissioner's office, that if this guy did this and disengaged the water system to this residence or to this facility and took out the restroom facility, he would make a recommendation to the commissioners. Now,
Mark would make a recommendation.
Mark would make a recommendation to the commissioners, but that the final decision lied upon the commissioners. Now, this property is coming up for auction within the coming weeks, month, and so this individual wanted to get an understanding from the commissioner's office if Mark would make that if Mark Zimmerman would make those recommendations, would we accept that?
His recommendation would be to take it off?
Yes, that he would not be assessed a sewer fee for this particular facility. As long as Mark said, as long as he disconnected the water, filled in the cistern, and disconnected the restroom facility, Mark would make a recommendation to us that we authorize him not to be part of the sewer system, but that the final decision still lied upon this board here. This individual is wanting an understanding from us before he purchases the property, would we grant that request or not?
On Mark's recommendation, I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, that was my thought. If our sewer district engineer recommends that, then it does make sense. You're not putting anything in.
Anything in, yeah. I
Why
should-
would you pay?
That's my thoughts too, but I wanted to get it, we don't have to do anything in writing now, anything, he just wants an understanding. And then the next step will be, once he does all this, if he buys the property, if he's successful with this auction that's coming up, then he does that work, Mark goes over and inspects it. Mark would give a letter of recommendation back to the board, and then he would want us to give him a letter, this individual a letter saying, okay, that he would
Okay.
void any sewer fees or so forth and so on.
Sounds like we're in agreement as long as Mark's.
Yeah, absolutely. If Mark doesn't make the recommendation, then the whole thing's off.
Right.
Yeah. A couple other things here is we have approved an increase for indigent council. And we submitted something, I wish Nikki was here, but we submitted something to the state. They've came back and said that the wording or somehow or other we did it was not appropriate. We'd have to change some things. And in addition to that, there are state maxes on specific issues. Let's say it's a murder trial, it's indigent, the state allows X amount, and they will reimburse the county based on either the state's amount or the county's amount, whichever is lower. Let me give you an example. Let's just say a murder trial is $1,000 that they'll pay the lawyer, the state, but the county has a $800 cap on it. They're gonna reimburse a percentage of the $800, whichever is the lowest amount. So there's an advantage of going to the state caps, but the long and short of it is I'm investigating that further. Matter of fact, I have a lunch with the judges today to get their opinion as to how this should go or not. And kind of the strong opinion from what I've heard so far is the judges would prefer we would keep with the county caps. Because if you look at it in theory, the state is reimbursing the county supposedly 50% of what the cap is, whichever is lower. So let's say it's $1,000 for a murder trial, they would reimburse 50%, that's $500. If it's the county's $800, they're gonna reimburse us only $400. The problem is what I understand is part of K-6 deal to balance the budget, they keep lowering that 50% in it. So I'm gonna have an understanding of today that even though it's 50%, they're supposedly supposed to reimburse us, they're actually going to reimburse it, and it's about 28% now, so.
50% is in permanent law, but it hasn't been reimbursed at 50% as long as I can remember.
That's-
It's bounced around with each budget. It's been 39, it's been 42, it's been 20-something.
Yeah.
It hasn't been 50% in a long time. And, you know, as you know, I was against raising the thing to begin with. I would be against raising the caps as well.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the consensus there, so we have to clarify that before, and remember, as we approved, as the indigent council increase was approved, it wasn't gonna go into effect till next year. Well, we have to overcome whatever clerical issues that we've had with the state before even that can be implemented. So right now, the whole thing's still in limbo.
Okay.
Even though we've approved it, it didn't get approved by the state for various reasons, and between Nikki and myself and the judges and indigent council, we're trying to work those things out. Don't know how it's all gonna turn out, that's just more factual information is what I see it today.
As we can, oh, I'm sorry, was you
Oh,
gonna say
and I was just
something?
gonna say, she's got the letters, they're right here, here they are. I looked at them yesterday, to sign regarding House Bill and Senate bills that are trying to get that indigent fees all taken care of by the state over a period of time, so that it's not on the county's
Yes.
budget to
Yes.
pay that. I mean,
We're-
but
we're
doesn't solve it for now, but
Yeah.
it's the support of getting that change on a regular basis, so.
Yeah, we're petitioning the legislatures to change the law so indigent council would really be taken over by the state and not borne at all by the counties. But that's long-term legislation that we're, again, petitioning our legislatures to work on, and that's from what I understand. So we got a short-term issue and kind of a long-term issue that we're
Right.
dealing with. But as of right now, nothing is being done, nothing is being changed until we overcome these short-term issues.
Yeah.
While we're still on that subject, let's throw in another 2 cents worth here. As we're talking about other budget things today and the past few weeks, yeah, that wasn't gonna take effect till the first of the year. It's not too late to reconsider your support for that if you wanted to make that change and leave it at current status for next year. So I just throw that out.
A couple other things is, we've got the Wolf Creek hearing coming up here at the end of November. I have been in discussions with Sandusky County engineer, and within the next week or two, now that the leaves are down, the whole issue, just to kind of boil it down, some of the objection of the petitioners in Seneca County is that if they clear out the ditches in Seneca County, that it's all gonna plug up right there at the Sandusky County line and back up into Bettsville. And so what I'm trying to do is get an understanding from Sandusky County that if in fact we grant the petition and that does continue to create a problem, that they would alleviate the problem in Sandusky County. So the engineer suggested after the leaves come down, that we would then survey the Sandusky County part of it. And I thought between the commissioners in Sandusky County and maybe some of the commissioners in Seneca County, we could have a gentleman's agreement and understanding, which would help us in making, at least from my perspective, making a determination when we have our full hearing the end of November about Wolf Creek. So I'm just making you aware of it. Once I hear, if you guys want to be involved with that, with the Sandusky County Commissioners and the engineer of Sandusky County, that we would go out and we would view the site in Sandusky County.
Okay.
Kind of makes sense? That's just more information.
I think our reaffirming of our granting of the petition will have to be based on the 4 or 5 things in Ohio Revised Code, though we'll have to grant it based on Mark's recommendation, whether it complies with those things or not what Sandusky County might or might not do. But still, it's if this can help alleviate someone's fears of the project, that's fine with me.
Well, and that's all I'm, because there's people certainly on both sides of the issue there, and it's been something that's been going on for years and years. And I think one of the legitimate concerns is if they clean out Seneca County and it backs up at the Sandusky County line, what have we achieved? If we can get an agreement with Sandusky County, that would ease my mind, and I believe ease the minds of the concerned citizens of Bettsville, on this Seneca County part of it. But I realize, may or may not have any bearing on it, but from a personal standpoint, I believe it does have a bearing on, what I could vote for or not.
As Tia, I think Tia explained it, maybe it wasn't her, maybe it was Mark, I don't remember, that the cleaning and improving of the channel will actually provide a little more retention space within the channel itself, and it may be a help. So, everybody thinks it's gonna back up, or certain people think it's gonna back up there, but there may be some help in the process, and I don't pretend to be an expert.
Oh, absolutely. It may not be a problem. All I want to do is have kind of a understanding, a gentleman's agreement, if it is a problem, that they're willing to do something there, that we're not at a stalemate again.
I don't think
It
that can
just-
hurt. I
yeah.
don't think that can hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 other things is as we go through and I've had conversations with Sandusky County Commissioners this morning, Dan Poulter. I'm a newbie at this whole budget process, and through the election, I've heard numerous times that they need raises and they haven't got raises in a number of years, and we're working on a shoestring and all of those issues. I have opened up discussions with Sandusky County in specific as we look at our budget process to kind of compare notes. Compare budgets when you look at expenditures from specific departments, the level of manpower in that department, how that compares with Seneca County. I know from my business career, I love to compare with competition. Of course, that's sometimes in a business environment, it's a little difficult. People don't want to share information, but here in government, we're not competitors, and we can actually learn from each other. So Sandusky County has freely accepted this, so we could kind of get together and just kind of compare budgets to budgets and where we stand and they stand. We're not looking at revenue, we're looking at expenses of those departments. It's a way of kind of checks and balances to see if we're in line, if in fact, we're higher or lower than what our peers are. So just,
They're a good county to compare, because they're a neighbor, they're about the same size. I think
Yep.
their budget is bigger, dollar-wise, and they have some departments that are definitely bigger, like their EMS is a paid
yeah,
squad.
yeah. Well, there's some things
But
we're not gonna be
certainly-
able to compare,
But
but.
certainly, it's a good county to
Yeah.
choose.
I don't see any negative part of it. It may or may not be, definitive what we can find, but it's better than just shooting in the dark and living in our own world here.
Yeah, I've compared with Sandusky County before, and I don't remember all the comparisons, but there were some.
Because when you compare, you gotta have two willing participants.
Yeah.
Gotta be on both sides, and they are willing to do that.
Concern will be the time you weed out all the things that don't line up, that aren't, you're
Yeah.
not comparing
Yeah.
apples to apples. Then you're gonna get something out of it, but it may not be as
Yeah.
clean cut as it would seem
Yeah,
like it could be.
and until we start it, I don't know.
Yeah.
And even if if it's after the budget process, for my benefit as being a newbie, it may help me for next year's budget process.
Right.
I-
It's a good county.
anything. Lastly is, when I started this thing as commissioner, we implemented this suggestion cost savings program that to date, we have not been successful in finding any money under any rocks in various departments and so forth, and maybe it's being managed at the best level. But I'd like to just throw out food for thought, because I've done some research. There are individuals and/or organizations that can come in and do a study on individual departments and to see what kind of waste there is. And typically, what the cost of this is there's no upfront cost, but they would receive 25% of the savings of that department for the next year. So let's say they're able to come up with a $50,000 savings. Now, it has to be implemented after they evaluate the department and find there's legitimate cost savings, and the commissioners, we agree on those cost savings, we implement the program, then they would receive 25% of that savings for the next year. It's a big project, it's probably not gonna be received well within the county departments, but it's a way of just looking under every rock, trying to find savings. And
I think it speaks well of the county in that suggestion program, and we embraced that pretty wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
And there was a total of 3 so far, I think, that none of them really panned out as cost savings. I think that speaks well of what we've got going on here.
well, one of two things, either speaks well or we all think alike.
Well, I mean, you put it out to all the employees,
Mhm.
and one person suggested a certain thing about space heaters that we'd already said you can't do that. So, and then, so the employees aren't coming up with new ideas, I guess, that can actually save us money. I don't know what group you're talking about. I hope it's not the state auditor.
No.
Okay, because the state
I
auditor's program is
I
not-
went down that avenue
Okay,
and
okay.
Fostoria said I had to be crazy to do that. Please don't put that in the paper.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
We
that.
keep telling how many
program
pleases
at
they
all.
got. I guess I look at it as I don't know anything about those companies and so forth, but I wanna lean to our department heads have been doing a good job and I'm trying to do that. And as you and I are learning this budgeting process, I've had the same thoughts. I know Sandusky County does budget hearings and that kind of thing. And I thought, kind of go through and learn, seeing how it operates this year and maybe next year, I want to see us handle that whole budget process different. Comes these savings, if we're going to give them a percentage of the savings, if they find savings, then we're not going to save anything, or we're going to save less than what we would if we find it on our own. I guess I don't know. I'd have a lot to know what's their success
Well-
rate.
well-
I mean, how many situations have they gone and really found anything? I'd like to think our people are really doing a good job, but don't want to bury my head in the sand either. But
Well, this can be conducted by firms or even individuals, like from the retired from the business world, that would be willing to come in and assess, do some studies, physically work in a department for a couple weeks. I say work in it, observe from that standpoint and come back with recommendations. Now, again, if we would implement the recommendations or not, it's one of those things, is nothing lost, other than maybe some people that aren't real happy with the departments, but that's not our job to make everybody happy. Our job is to do our job and to get as much value for the taxpayers' money as we possibly can.
And then to be fair, you have to do it through all departments, right? You wouldn't just.
Well, you
don't-
would start with one department and then
What?
you just keep going down the line.
What I mean,
Yeah.
they'd go through all of them.
Do you have a particular company that has some information we could look at?
I can gather that, I mean.
Or a
it's-
proposal that they would have? Something in writing that we could look at?
This, let me gather that info. I first wanted to throw it out there, food for thought, to see if there might be some interest, and if there is, I can gather more information. I mean, there's various ways, there's individuals that can come in and study departments. I mean, individuals from the business world that can do that, the possibility. But let me gather some more information. If it's received lukewarm by this board, then I'll proceed further. If it's cold, it just absolutely, we don't even want to look at it, then there's no sense for me to go any further on it. That's what I was trying to do, is kind of get the pulse of this board.
As you'd said earlier, I'd like to kind of see in comparison, I wonder if anybody else has done this kind of a thing, a county where they found it beneficial, like the experience of asking about the state audit, performance audits. I'd be curious to know that, I guess, before I knew whether I was,
Well, yeah, my preference is to bring someone in from the business world and not from another government agency. I think business world, they tend to have a little, I don't know, a little closer to the vest type attitude. I don't know. I hate to talk bad about anything, but I mean, let's face it, I haven't found anything that government could do better than business.
Yeah, I'm definitely opposed to the state auditor's performance
Oh, yeah,
audit based on some local government's experience in that. That the cost
Yeah.
far
Well, there you have
far
to-
exceeded the benefit.
Anything I would recommend, there would be no cost to the county, other than if savings are implemented, they would get a percentage of that savings. No upfront
I'd
cost.
be willing to listen to any proposal
Okay.
anybody had, whether it's, they wanna come and talk to us, or whether they wanna put something in writing, I don't care. I wanna caution them that there are certain things that government has to do
Yeah.
that
which is,
I
yeah,
know,
the
like-
disadvantage of
yeah,
someone in business, because
disadvantage.
like you said, it's frustrating, when you realize there are certain,
Yeah.
loops and things you gotta go through to make things work, and it's gonna seem to the outside world very inefficient, but
Yeah, well, that's what, like, one of the
Law is
discussion
law.
was, the first thing in Job and Family Services, I said, no, that's the last one, because that's governed by the state, and I don't even want, I guess I'm looking at this from a selfish standpoint, what can we save the county?
Yeah.
You know, what can we save the county? What, the things that affect the general fund, what can we do to save that?
Yeah, yeah.
And the other departments,
Yeah, it never hurts to look at it. So I'd be willing to listen to any proposal that somebody has.
okay. I'm finished now.
Okay, let's see, Tanya, did you have any new business? Any public comment? Any motions to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay,
second.
we're adjourned at 10:53 then. Thank you all for coming. We're gonna sign for